No, the thumbnail has nothing to do with the video. I just couldn't come up with anything else. Alright, let's do this. 74. Hurry, he's hungry. This is what Shrinking Satellite should have been. Instead of only covering about 2/3 of the planet, the nodes completely engulf it, forcing the player to touch pretty much every tile. This makes things really intense by the end and requires some Hail Mary long jumps if your route isn't perfect. I also really like that this is the only Hungry Luma in the game that doesn't create a launch star. Instead, you have to use the nearby cannon, and this really helps the mission stand out a little bit. Collecting the star bits to feed the Hungry Luma is super easy since there's so many in Seaslide, but overall this is a really solid secret star that improves an old idea significantly. 73. Boo in a Box. This secret star has you blowing up a ship in the underground lake to reach a really interesting puzzle box. There's a boo with a star inside, and you have to flip gravity multiple times to rotate the room, eventually revealing an opening that shines light into the box that you can use to defeat the boo. There's also a pain in the ass urchin you have no way to kill that actually makes this star fairly tricky if you don't know what you're doing. It's constantly chasing and harassing you like your aunt at Christmas, and just like at Christmas, you have no way out. Regardless, I really like this box, and I think the hiding spot being so solid is enough to put this star above the last one. 72. Sinking the airships. This galaxy is pretty much a mirror of King Caliente's Spicy Return, which I talked about in the last video. That galaxy had a horribly underwhelming boss fight with an amazing build-up, and this one is the exact opposite. The airships are fun to platform on, but there's nothing here that we haven't seen before. Good Egg and Space Junk both feature missions that heavily focus on airship fleets, and while they're both a lot of fun, this mission adds nothing to the concept. There's a few moving platforms and some cannons, but both of those mechanics were used better in other galaxies too. What puts this mission so high is the incredible boss fight with Bowser Jr. This is the best fight with him in the series, and there is some super stiff competition there. Throwing shells is a ton of fun, and as the fight goes on, the screen becomes absolutely filled with projectiles. There's fireballs, bullet bills, magic Koopas, it's complete chaos, and I love it. It fits Bowser Jr. as a character super well, and when he turns the ship, it can be genuinely tough to hit him, which adds a lot of challenge. This fight is just incredible, and if the level leading up to it weren't such a bore, this would be way higher. I will die on the hill that this is one of the best Mario bosses. It's simple, but so damn fun. 71. Ghost Ship Daredevil Run. I fully concede that putting this mission all the way up here is super hypocritical, but I said I was going to be honest about how I feel, and I adore this fight. It's the player's third and final encounter with Camilla, and this is easily the best of the 3 battles with her. We haven't talked about the first 2 fights yet, but this mission has nothing but the boss, so it makes sense that it would still be lower. Camilla is genuinely really tough this time around. She is easily one of the hardest missions in the game. She's constantly teleporting all over the ship, and her fireballs bounce around sporadically, but the real challenge is landing those last 2 hits. Camilla can only be hit from the mass at this point, meaning that her fireballs stick around for much longer, and she can even summon magic Koopas that summon even more fire. Combine that with limited opportunities to hit her, and this is still pretty easily the hardest boss in the game, and I love the challenge. It's super hectic but always fair, and beating her without killing any of the magic Koopas is a great way to make the fight even more exciting if you're up for the challenge. It also helps that this whole ship area is one of the best spots in the game, but I'll talk more about it when we get to the original mission later. While this may be a super biased placement, I'm happy to call it the best Daredevil mission in the game, with one exception I'm even more biased towards. 70. Through the Poison Swamp. This is the best of the motion control galaxies you can unlock with normal stars because it's the longest and most fleshed out. The atmosphere is top of the line. The wrecked Starshroom and the vastness of the poison really raise the stakes despite this level being a literal breeze. I love the dialogue from the Toad Brigade as always, and the optional paths add a lot of replay value even if they don't offer much of a reward. The bubble mechanic is pretty fun, way more so than whatever the hell Jungle Beat was trying to do, and the moving platforms and floating spikes take full advantage of it. There's also this laughably easy skip on the last planet you can do since there's leftover geometry, and it literally skips half the level. Some may think this would rank the mission lower, but I adore glitches like these. This is so specific and obscure that only diehard fans like myself or someone who learned about it online would ever discover the skip, meaning it adds an alternate route through the level without taking away from the casual experience. In my opinion, if a glitch is fun and is basically impossible to perform by accident, it automatically makes the game better. It just adds replay value and allows you to see the game in a whole new way. I wish developers would leave glitches that fit this description in their games, but a video about a Nintendo product is probably the worst place to ask for something like that. 69. Big Mouth's Gold Bait. Nice. 68. Mega Legs. Okay, normally I wouldn't make a joke this obvious and immature, but come on. Number 69 ended up having Big Mouth in the title. I clearly had no choice. Anyway, this galaxy is the definition of all style and no substance, but goddamn, that style is incredible. The music and background set up an atmosphere that's somehow both unnerving and soothing, and the actual planet is also really fun to explore. Unfortunately, once you get past all that, the level itself is just swimming in a straight line, grabbing some super easily placed star chips and swimming in a straight line again. On top of that, it's super easy to cheese the star chip section by just wall jumping up to where the shell is, reducing the mission to just swimming back and forth once. The golden shell is back and I still really want one, and I love how Captain Toad just fell into the chest because he's an idiot. I love Captain Toad as a character. He adds a lot of levity to the missions he's in, and along with the Toad Brigade, prevents the game from feeling too lonely, all without losing the sense of isolation since his presence is so inconsistent. But back to the mission itself, what we have here is some of the best atmosphere in the game with some of the most boring and mediocre gameplay to go along with it, leading to an above average and memorable mission. 68. Mega Legs Moon. This level might be lower on my list than you'd expect, but I have my reasons, and the main one is that there's nothing to this level outside of the amazing boss fight. There's a pretty boring intro planet that takes about a minute, and then you're thrust right into the battle. On top of that, the battle itself is way too short, and landing that last hit is way too annoying and difficult for the first Bowser level. Still, everything else about this mission is fantastic. I love climbing up the boss like Shadow of the Colossus, and the sound design is just incredible the whole way through. It's such a great use of the game's gravity mechanics, Bowser Jr. is a fun character as always, and the music is ear candy. There's also a really fun glitch you can do by triple jumping off the starting planet in just the right way, allowing you to explore the boss while it's inactive. I may like this level as much as everyone else does if it weren't for a later mission that blows it out of the water in every single aspect, but it's still a really good time and easily the best Bowser Jr. level. 67. Top Maniac and the Top Man Tribe. Before I talk about the mission itself, let's get my obligatory bitching about Top Maniac out of the way. Top Maniac sucks and he's way too easy and doesn't do the mission justice, blah blah blah, let's just talk about the actual level. The Top Man enemies are all over this place and can be both fun and frustrating to take down depending on the situation. The ones you have to bounce off of are really enjoyable and the sound effects are amazing as ever in this game, but I don't have much to say about most of the mission. The 2D section is easily the highlight. I love almost every 2D section in this game, and this is no exception. It really makes you feel like you're in a factory or in the inside of a massive space station engine, the latter of which actually makes sense given the level in question. Aside from a disappointing boss, this is a consistently fun mission even if it has trouble standing out. 66. The Golden Chomp. This star is short but sweet, so this section of the video will be the same. It's a really fun idea for a hidden star, and I wish Galaxy had just a couple more like it. It's inherently fun because the original mission is one of the best in the game, but it adds to it by requiring the player to collect a bunch of question mark coins. I don't know how you're supposed to know that collecting these coins will spawn a rainbow star, but there's only so much to mess around with in this part of the level, so it's not unreasonable to assume the player will figure it out eventually. And yes, I want a life-size golden chomp to sit right next to my golden shell. 65. Polestar Path. This mission is hard to rank because while it's only a 7 out of 10 on its own, this is the single best mission in the game in terms of representing what makes Galaxy so special to me. I originally had it ranked in the top 10 because of this, but I decided to push it down because I don't have any nostalgic attachment to this mission specifically, and it doesn't come to mind when I think of my favorite stars. Let's talk about the mission itself. This level focuses on Polestars, a really fun and innovative mechanic that simulates floating through space super well while also incorporating the Wii Remote's unique capabilities. There are also a lot of small planets rather than larger, more fleshed out ones that we saw in the Terrace galaxies, which is a nice change of pace and fits the galaxy very well. The last section is a cool concept, but nothing of value really gets done with it. It kinda kills the pacing and atmosphere. This is a shame because the level's atmosphere is genuinely the single best in the game in terms of simulating outer space. As someone who primarily enjoys more fast-paced and intense songs, Space Junk Road is seriously my favorite piece of fully relaxing music ever made. There are slow parts for longer songs that I enjoy more, but in terms of tracks you could fall asleep to, this is it. The game has multiple tracks that are among my favorite pieces of music, so this isn't super unusual for Galaxy, but Space Junk Road makes the entire level significantly more enjoyable. I don't consider this level to be very fun to play, but it definitely has enough going for it outside of that to rank this high. As for representing what makes this game so special, I'll be talking about that during the ending of the final video, but for now we have 64 other stars to get through. 64. Watch Your Step. This is a better version of Matter Splatter Mansion from Ghostly Galaxy, so much that I completely forget that mission exists sometimes. The otherworldly atmosphere really stands out, and the first two sections are damn near flawless. This is the final mini-galaxy within the domes, and it certainly brings a decent challenge as it should. There's a ton of Magikoopas throwing fireballs, which can be tough to dodge since the floor is constantly moving, and there are some tricky wall jumps to do in the second section. This would honestly be among the best levels in the game if it stayed consistent, but the last two sections are much more of a mixed bag. The third area uses the Spring Mushroom, and bringing this power-up back for a 2D vertical auto-scroller was an inspired choice. As I keep coming back to, I wish Galaxy used power-ups like this more often, smaller sections that don't need to take up the entire level. Unfortunately, this section is painfully slow, and falling off means you get to do the whole thing over again. This part is pretty tough too, so this is a very real possibility. On top of that, the section afterwards doesn't get rid of the Spring Mushroom automatically, meaning you have to either kill yourself to get rid of it or beat the entire thing with the Spring Mushroom, which I have never been able to do. This means that this is by a long shot the hardest level in the game to beat without dying, and I don't think that was intentional at all. I like that the Spring Mushroom is a trade-off and not a strict upgrade, but parts like this show that you really need to allow the player to get rid of the power-up to make it work. Even without the handicap, this part is also painfully slow. There just isn't enough going on to keep the gameplay exciting, and this section is probably the easiest of the level 2, which is obviously a problem for the final section. Overall, this stage is a 3 and a 10 out of 10 rolled into 1, so being towards the middle of the list makes sense. 63. Trouble on the Tower. The first mission in Honey Hive sadly overshadows this one in every single way, meaning this mission struggles to stand out on its own. That being said, it's still a really fun time. I like the idea of literally building upon the main planet, and rocketing into the sky only to plummet back down onto the tower is super satisfying. The level introduces wall jumping in a really natural way, and the boss is easily the worst in the game. What the hell is this? I don't even know if it counts as a boss, it's so bad. You literally just jump and ground pound in place 2 times and you're done. This alone dropped this mission from an 8 to a 7, and the fact they brought this lady back in Galaxy 2 is... Okay, honestly, that's so bad it's hilarious, but this fight sucks. I really like the option to skip the launch star and stay on the main planet, but that's also something the first mission did way better, even if it was much less intentional there. While it pales in comparison to the rest of the galaxy, this mission still puts a smile on my face from start to the top of the tower, at which point I just kind of let out an unenthusiastic yawn. 62. Dino Piranha. Man, I wish I could play this game for the first time again. The whole game has been incredible up to this point, and I'll talk about the real first mission later, but this star is where it really sinks in that yes, this title really is going to be this fun and creative and unique all the way through, and you're in for one of the best games of all time, and that is such a powerful and exciting feeling that very few games can pull off. This whole level shows off what the game is about perfectly, but outside of that, it's not particularly standout. Dino Piranha is just decent as a boss, and there's understandably not much challenge, but if I were ranking these missions objectively, it would easily be in the top tier due to how exciting this must have been back in 2007. I highly recommend this video by Elegant Metal. Not only does he break down this level way better than I ever could, but this entire video is seriously outstanding and severely underrated. Link in the description. I feel kind of lazy just telling you to go watch someone else's video for this star, but I don't have enough time for this series as it is, and I need to cut a corner somewhere. 61. Camilla's Airship Attack. This is Bowser Jr.'s airship armada if the level were up to the standards of the boss. Camilla is great, as I've already said, so I won't go into the fight much here. Just know it's a slightly worse version of her battle on the Ghost Ship, and this is one of the most beautiful boss arenas in the game. The level itself is a lot of fun too. It teaches the player about two separate mechanics that have the exact same inputs, jumping and spinning and throwing shells, and both are used to their fullest here. These octopus enemies build upon the ones from Good Day Galaxy by requiring shells, and this level has plenty of gaps that are just the right length for you to make with a jump and spin. The ships have a lot of secrets to uncover, and I especially love how you can go into the hull to get a bunch of star bits on one of them. This whole level is a nice change of pace from the slow and relaxing intro to Space Junk's first mission, and speaking of which, this is actually the first main galaxy I'm finished talking about. Every star from this galaxy is now finished, and that makes sense. Space Junk was always my least favorite main level as a kid, so having the lowest high points out of all of them makes sense. But you know you have a good game on your hands when a level like this is your worst, and what's crazier is that there are two main galaxies so good I haven't even talked about any of their 6 missions yet. Let's keep going because I can't wait to get to them. 60. Choosing a favorite snack. Along with Snowcap and a certain Deep Dark Star I'll get to later, this is one of the 3 WTF missions of Mario Galaxy. I have no idea what was happening when they designed this, and maybe there's a reason this level focuses on wacky mushrooms. The main planet is, I don't know. Looks like a saw trap. What the hell am I looking at? I actually love how unique and weird it is, and this is the only mission in the game that lets you choose between power-ups, which is really cool. You should absolutely choose the Boo Mushroom because it's way better for this section and it only appears in 2 other galaxies, but the thought was nice. Inside of the spiral, it's so chaotic with all the clashing assets, and again, I really like this. This is one of the most memorable missions in the game, and I'm glad we got the WTF trilogy. Unfortunately, before I can move on, I have to talk about the last part because sadly it brings it down a lot. It's aesthetically breathtaking, but it's way too easy and short, and the rings aren't going to line up unless you wait for a really long time. I love the moon at the center, even if the gravity is really janky, and blasting around with the rainbow star is fun, but why can you just do 2 long jumps and reach the end with 0 challenge? I don't know, but I suppose this mission has so many unanswered questions is what makes it so special. Also, using the moonlight to get rid of the Boo Mushroom and ending the mission on that same moon is such a badass ending. 59. Purple Coins by the Seaside. Lastly for today, we have a mission I've heard called the worst in the game many times, and honestly, I can understand why. Not only is there 0 challenge here, but the 3rd mission in this galaxy is basically the exact same. So why did I rank it so high and call it the best mission in the galaxy? There's a few reasons, but the big one is simply nostalgic bias. I love the seaside aesthetic, and flying around with the bee mushroom is really enjoyable. The mission is long as hell too, and since there's next to no danger, you can just kinda relax and enjoy the ride. All the NPCs are still around and make this place feel super lively, and the Toad Brigade brings an entire fleet to help with coin collecting. Yes, this mission can be boring, and that's why it's ranked so low, but no other level feels quite as happy as this one in the game, and that's a lot of what I love in Galaxy. It makes sense that Sea Slide and Space Junk were the bottom 2 galaxies, but it's still crazy that even the worst of the main levels managed to make it up to the 7 out of 10 range. Just another reason this is my favorite game of all time. Also, they should have hidden like 20 coins in the water, so we got to do some swimming too, but I'm still happy with what we got. That's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching. Come back next week and I will do the 8 out of 10 stars, week after that 9s, and then we'll end off the year with the 10 out of 10s. Well, actually, we might have to push into 2025 a little bit. I'm pretty busy with holiday stuff and other stuff going on in my life right now, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to get that out in time, but we'll see what happens. And hopefully, Santa Claus will bring me a brand new mic so you guys can actually bear to listen to my voice, and maybe viewers will actually continue to watch my videos. That would be crazy. I've never had that happen before. Please, for the love of God, subscribe. My camera fell. In all seriousness, I am going to buy myself a new mic as a Christmas present to myself at the end of the year. I need a good audio setup if I'm going to get a consistent audience, and I want to do that because I'm really enjoying my time with YouTube. It's been very weird, a very new type of experience. I'm not used to talking in front of the camera like this, but I enjoy it, and I love that I actually have a platform where I can talk about geeky things like this. I've had passion for this stuff since I was literally 3 4 years old. This is a really good opportunity. So thank you so much to anyone who's watched this video, and hopefully I'll see you next week.